Today's topic is integrating your marketing stack with Zapier. So that's the main topic today. It's going to be focused on Zapier and what we can do with Zapier and how to connect different apps to SharpSpring. So the agenda today is to first discuss Zapier and the various integrations that are possible. Then we're going to review how to connect Zapier and SharpSpring. And we're actually going to use a real example. We're going to use Calendly and integrate Calendly with SharpSpring. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them on into the chat window at the bottom of the GoToWebinar control panel. Mr. Joel Swain is sitting there manning the Q&A, so to speak. And if any question that pops up seems relevant to bring up to the whole crowd, I'll actually go ahead and interrupt and let you guys know and answer it here on the spot. So always like to reiterate the SharpSpring objective, why we're using SharpSpring, right? And it's first and foremost to drive leads or generate leads into the application. Secondly, to convert those leads into sales, maybe through automation or nurture campaigns. And then to optimize ROI, being able to go back and see were your marketing dollars well spent? Did you do a good job generating leads compared to the sales that you generated? And go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and blow through this beginning part of the PowerPoint. That way we can get in and show you how this stuff is actually working. But I just want to go over first what exactly Zapier is. And Zapier just enables you to connect SharpSpring to hundreds of apps without the need for a programmer, right? So that's how you can help pitch this to your colleagues and your clients. Is we don't need to get a developer on hand if an app that we want to integrate with is available through Zapier. And so I actually went through our tickets and went through to see, well, what are the most popular apps people are using Zapier for? And this is the list that ended up being put on my table this morning. And as we can see here, Gmail, Google Sheets, Google Calendar, Calendly, Acuity, and Trello. These are all different platforms that are being used the most with SharpSpring in terms of what we're seeing our customers reaching out to us for. So just wanted to throw that out there and kind of give you and lay down a foundation for how others are using it. And so Zapier is available. All the settings in Zapier are available inside this SharpSpring API Zapier reference within your settings. So if you go into settings, top right corner of your app, and then go to SharpSpring API and click Zapier reference, you're able to see a breakdown of the triggers and actions available and actually gives a definition for each. So I just wanted to quickly put this out there, what our triggers are. As you can see, when we have a new lead created in SharpSpring or an email open or a new account, new campaign, or new opportunity created in SharpSpring, then we can go ahead and do other things in different apps, different platforms. And in the reverse, if something happens in a different app, we could actually create an account in SharpSpring, create a campaign, create or update a lead, and create and update opportunities as well. So wanted to give you guys that rundown. And of course, we have some resources available to you in our help.sharpspring.com help center. We have one up right now that's integrate Office 365 and SharpSpring with Zapier, but in the future on the roadmap are more articles to come. So please, stay tuned and be sure to check out our help center along the way. Aside from that, we also have a Zapier integration overview, very similar to the Zapier reference inside of the settings page, just a breakdown of what's going on here. So also zapier.com/zapbook, and I believe they have zapier.com/how-it-works, so how it works as well as a help document that Zapier has available to show you exactly what Zapier is doing. So with that said, I'm actually going to jump in. I'm going to actually go ahead and set up a Zap. And once I do that, I'm going to actually show you how we can use this data in SharpSpring. I'm going to create a time-based workflow so that you can sort of send a reminder email and a follow-up email when somebody schedules a meeting with you. And so as you can see here, this is the Zapier page. This is zapier.com, and I'm currently logged in. And if you're not, you can actually go ahead and sign up for a free plan. There's also a couple of other plans they have available. And as you can see here, the difference being are how many tasks you can do per month, how many Zaps you can do per month, and how often those Zaps actually run. So did want to throw that out there before we jumped right into it. And do note, it is Zapier, not Zapier. Reason being is the fact that they use Zaps, right, not Zapes. So if it was Zapes, it would be Zapier, but Zap, it's an internal conflict I have often, so I had to bring that up. Anyways, so this is the page that we're seeing here. This is where you can go and see if there's an app that you want to integrate is available here in Zapier. But what I'll actually do is I'll go ahead and click Make a Zap up there on the top of the screen. From there, I'm taken to this page where I actually have to choose, very similar to how kind of workflows work in SharpSpring, a trigger and an action, right? Makes sense. And so for this example, what I want to do is when somebody schedules a meeting on my calendar through Calendly, I want to automatically put them on maybe a list. I automatically want to send them a reminder email and a follow-up email after that meeting is scheduled. And so to do just that, I'll obviously first and foremost have to have a Calendly account. And I actually created one here for this example. So I'll go ahead and go to Calendly, and up at the top right here, click My Account, and I'll be taken to my dashboard, right? So once that's all said and done, we're gonna go ahead and go into our Zap, choose Calendly. From there, we're taken to the next page where I choose whether I want this to be a trigger that is when an invitee schedules an event or when somebody cancels an event. So for this one, I'm gonna choose schedule an event, right? Someone's going to my calendar and picking a time for a meeting. From there, here it says connect an account. So I actually have to connect Calendly with Zapier, and you'll see here, once I click this connect account button, it says that I need an API key, okay? In order to get that in Calendly, all you have to do is go all the way to the top, find your user drop-down menu, and click integrations. Once I click integrations, you'll see here is my API key. So all I have to do is copy and paste. I'll actually regenerate a new one. That way we can start here from scratch. Now, in this connect an account page, I'll go ahead and paste that in and click continue. Now you'll see here, it was added 0 minutes ago. I hit test and it says successful. So once I hit save and continue, it says here now I actually have to test it, right, by actually creating a calendar event. So what I'll do is I'll hit connect and continue. You'll see it's waiting now. And all I have to do is actually just go to my Calendly page, calendly.com/Greg Robinson, and I'm going to go ahead and schedule a meeting just so it knows it's connected. So you can see here, that's the interface I have available. I'll go ahead and schedule nice, bright and early, and I'll go ahead and call it Greg Zap. So once all that's said and done, it says it may take a second, and it usually does, but there it goes, it says test successful. And now we have successfully connected Calendly to this Zap. So now we actually have, we're not done here, now we have to actually connect SharpSpring to this Zap as well, so the two can talk. So once I click continue, now I'm actually choosing to select SharpSpring, right? Because we're saying when someone schedules time on my calendar, I want to go ahead and put them in SharpSpring. So what I'll do is I'll hit SharpSpring, and then I'll choose to update/create a lead, okay? Because that to me is the most relevant, right? Obviously, you'll see here we have those other options we mentioned in the PowerPoint beforehand, which is creating an account, creating and updating an opportunity, and creating a campaign. So I'll go ahead and hit save and continue. Now I've already done this before, but I'm going to walk you through how to do it from scratch. We'll see connect an account, same as the previous page we did with Calendly. And you'll see here that it requires me to put in an account ID and a secret key, all right? So I'm going to jump into SharpSpring and show you how to get that, okay? So here's my SharpSpring instance. What I'll do is I'll go to the top corner of the screen and click Settings. From Settings, on the left sidebar, I'll scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'll click over here under SharpSpring API Settings. And all I'm doing is I'm copying this account ID, pasting it into here. I'm taking this secret key and pasting it into here. Now you want to make sure there's no spaces at the end of them. Click yes, continue. And you'll see here it was added 0 minutes ago. We'll hit save and continue. Now what this is doing at this point of the entire Zap process is mapping the fields from Calendly to SharpSpring. So I'll go ahead and click this little plus sign, insert a field icon. And it takes a little bit, but I'm just aligning all this stuff up. So I'm saying email address, go ahead and put that in there. If there was a first name, we'll put invitee name in there. But what I'm really gonna do is I wanna be able to map this to an event date and time, okay? And so what you'll have to do, you'll see here I have an event date and time. I'll click into my event date time custom field, and I'll go ahead and click event start time, right? If you're not familiar with how to create a date time field, you simply go to the top right corner of the screen, new, and then custom field. From custom field, you go ahead and jump into this top add field icon and click lead field. From lead field, we'll go ahead and click date time picker, okay? Awesome. So here, this would be your, meeting date and time, something along those lines, and go from there. Now, the option that I will choose, I'll go ahead and choose the option that I think is the friendliest option. I'll click create field. And so that's exactly what I did to get this event date time field in here. And so I'm just tying in the event start time, or the time that the meeting was scheduled for, to correlate to this event date time. Okay, that's really all I want to put in here. You could obviously put in more information that's available. They offer the end time as well, and duration as well, if you'd like that information in there. I'm going to stick with this example and go ahead and scroll to the bottom. These are all my custom fields, and click continue. So once that's all said and done, we'll hit create and continue, and you're good to go. Now I'm going to actually jump into SharpSpring, and I'm going to show you what we can do with this information, right? So we have available individuals who can go to our calendar, book time on our calendar, and have them then be created in SharpSpring. But I don't want it to end there. I want to automate some processes as well. I want to automate, putting them on a list, or changing a lead field to indicate that they have scheduled a meeting. Maybe I also want to put a reminder or follow-up email in that action group as well. So what I'll do is I'll actually first create a time-based action group simply by going down to the action group icon under the new screen. So right here. And let's just call this meeting scheduled time-based. And I'll go ahead and make it available to Contact Manager, and I'll make this repeatable, since they would be able to schedule multiple meetings or meetings in the future. And so the first thing that I'll do here is create a time-based action group utilizing the custom field by utilizing my event date time, or the one that we just created, that meeting date and time, whichever one is mapped in Zapier. Right? I believe I went with the event date time. From there, I actually think it's pretty crucial to be able to change a custom field to maybe meeting status to meeting scheduled or meeting attended. And what I can do then is go ahead and go down to change lead field, type in meeting status. Now, I already created this because I didn't think it was necessary to spend the time to build multiple custom fields out for you, but it was the same process as making that meeting date and time, right? Just selecting a checkbox group. And so what we'll do is we'll say just after, let's say, just 0 minutes after the event date time, we'll go ahead and change this lead field down here. And actually, what I'll do is I will make this 1 hour before the date time. And I will make this say meeting status scheduled. Now, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and then that hour before also send an email. So maybe this email is just a reminder, right? Maybe it's just a reminder email saying, hey, don't forget that we have a meeting, or here are some documents that you can review before our meeting. Here's some resources to check out before we talk, something like that. And from there, I'll I'll go ahead and I'll change this now to have this reflect after the event date time. So after this meeting has occurred, right? And I'll go ahead and say 1 hour after. I will go ahead and change that lead field, meeting status, to have attended as well. So we'll know if they not only scheduled, but also scheduled and attended their meeting, right? So you'll see that hour before, hour after. And then now I think 1 day after, let's go ahead and send a follow-up. So we can say, oh, maybe it's a follow-up to our conversation. And once we do that, we've effectively just created a very simple reminder and follow-up time-based action group that will then be tied to when that date time field is populated. So once that's said and done, I will then create a task. So first the action group, now the task. And from here, I'll go ahead and let's just call this meeting scheduled time-based task. All right, now once we're in here, I'll go ahead and first go down to the action groups and actions settings and go ahead and add that action group in there, right? So that's the action group we just created. And now I want to look to see any time that this date time field is not empty, I want to put them on the work action group. So basically I'm saying anytime that a meeting is scheduled, a meeting has a date, that they will be put on this action group. So what I'll do is I'll go here to as the field, and I'll change this to be event date time, change to blank, not equal. So we're saying when the event date time is not empty, then go ahead and put this action group that bases it off of the date and time in that field. And so once I hit save changes, I'm actually good to go, and I've essentially created a time-based workflow for this Zap. So every time that somebody goes to my calendar and picks a time to meet, I will be able to automatically automate, right, a reminder and follow-up action. And so this is incredibly useful for not only Calendly, but Acuity as well, or any really scheduling platform that you have available to you. And it just allows you to not have to go in back and forth, have to say, hey, when are you available, this or that. They can go and just pick a time on your calendar and you can automatically follow up with them without having to do this, right? Doesn't work for super personal conversations or relationships, but ones that you're having all the time, maybe they're demos or maybe they're certain sales pitches and whatnot. Incredibly useful, right? Saves a lot of time here. And so with that said, I wanted to jump in here and show you if you did have trouble finding that API token in Calendly, they do have a great help article available to you. As you can see here, it's developer.calendly.com/docs/getting your authentication token. I'll go ahead and pop that in the chat window for you. There you go. And I'm going to just pause for a second, look over to Joel to see if we have any questions. Looks like we've got them all answered. All right, great. So moving right along, I wanted to show some other things that you can do here in Zapier. So some of the cool things that I personally think is if you're pretty hard in your methods and pretty set in stone with how you use spreadsheets and whatnot, what we can do is we can actually say when a new lead is created in SharpSpring, put them on a spreadsheet. And so that may be an easier way for your boss or someone else to go see the progress and get a little progress report on what's going on in the application. And so I'm actually now going to use SharpSpring as a trigger to have an action set up. And so this, I'll actually go ahead and start from scratch just to show you guys again how we do this. I'm going to Zapier.com, and the first thing I'm doing again is going up to the top and clicking Make a Zap. From there, I'll select from this Choose App page, SharpSpring. And now you'll see when a new lead is created, I can do something. Or when a new email is opened, when a lead opens an email, I can check and see if we can maybe put them on a spreadsheet or do something else and go from there. And so I'll go ahead and choose that. I'll say when a new lead has been created in SharpSpring. From there, same exact process we just did. You can see it says added 9 minutes ago. So I can go in here and select that. It's going to take me through the same things where I'll have to fetch and continue all this stuff just to make sure and ensure that it's all working. But ultimately, bottom line, we want to set up the action now with the trigger. So with this, I'll go ahead and say, maybe I want to go ahead and put them on a Google Sheet. How I can do that is simply by going ahead and selecting to create a new spreadsheet row so that every new row is a new lead that's putting on. So this spreadsheet is constantly building as new leads come into the system. I'll go ahead and save and continue. You'll now see it'll look to connect an account. This one's pretty straightforward. I'm just logging in, as you can see here, to my account. Let's go ahead and allow that. Right, and as you can see here, all I'll have to do is when I hit save and continue is actually have that spreadsheet built out and then go ahead and designate the values for it. And so I personally think that it's just a lot easier to do if you have, you know, 2 rows and 2 columns, or so to speak. And because I didn't set this spreadsheet up prior, I'm not going to go ahead and show you guys how to do that. It's the same process as Calendly, where you're mapping the fields appropriately and going from there. So Google Sheets is not the only thing that you can use for all of this stuff. Obviously, we have in the system built out notifications and lead score and all of that stuff, but you can use these built-in apps that Zapier has available as well. And so since this is an intermediate topic, and I know you guys signed up for that, I'm not going to explore the more advanced stuff here. If you did, please email learn@sharpspring.com and we can go through some of the more complicated or more advanced ways to integrate with Zapier. One of the cooler ones is web hooks, right? So being able to post the form data and being able to utilize that in a way that just overall helps your process out. We can certainly go through that in addition to using the RSS feature and other, you know, important, you know, apps that are here in Zapier. So with that said, I think another cool one here is Trello. I personally use Trello all of the time here at SharpSpring to organize our training team, to organize our different events or projects, and I know you guys do too. So it actually came up as one of the top 5 most popular Zaps that we connect for here in SharpSpring. And so as you can see here, if you're familiar with Trello, there's cards, there's lists, there's boards. What I can do is I can just create a card for every new lead that comes into the system, right? And why that's important is then when those cards populate with a lead, I can then create a checklist in Trello to write off my next steps, write off my action items for what I need to take action on with this lead. And so having all that information available in Trello then allows you to take people who are not in SharpSpring and add them to that card and go from there, in addition to just organizing this stuff in a way that's just easier for your project management and overall business process. And so with that said, it looks like we got a question from Alan Day. Any ability to post to the blog on SharpSpring through Zapier? And so right off the bat, I do not believe so. Any blog article that is created in SharpSpring has to be created through our blog articles section, Alan. So if you go into here to the pages and then blog articles, you'll see that we actually have articles and categories that are then called on our landing page template. And so using Zapier, you know, I don't like to say no, and a lot of times I think, hey, can we figure this out? Can we figure out a nice little workaround for you? But for this specific case, we have to create for SharpSpring our blog articles in-house and then publish those to a landing page. Great question, though. I love that. So aside from that, do we have any more questions, guys? Feel free to submit them here to Joel. Here, who's manning the Q&A, and we can kind of go from there. I'm going to poke in real quick to see what all we got going on. If there's any questions. No? All right. Looks like we're good. Sweet. All right. And so again, I wanted to show you just to kind of wrap up here, when you go into the settings page and scroll all the way down on that left sidebar to Zapier reference, that is where I can go ahead and see just a nice little overview of what's going on here in Zapier. It shows me a breakdown of the triggers right here, new lead, new email event, all that good stuff, in addition to actions. So it shows me, you know, the actions and a breakdown of what all this stuff means. So if you guys ever get tripped up and you're feeling like a little bit lost in the sauce, go ahead and check out, I love that phrase, go ahead and check out the information we have available here in the application, in addition to those help articles that we have available as well. Again, by going to help.sharpspring.com and just simply search for Zapier, you'll find this nice Zapier integration article. Mr. Scott Lavery, excellent guy, stand-up gentleman here, and you'll be able to see everything we just talked about. So how to generate those keys and what each of these means. So I personally found this useful, so I'll click that. And we'll go from there. All right, so we're wrapping up here, guys. It's coming up till the end of our time, so I do appreciate you guys sticking with us and enjoying this session here on Zapier. I know a lot of you guys are interested in using this. It really comes down to exploring what apps that you want to use and what apps you're currently using. So if you're already using Trello, maybe it does make sense to use a Zap that connects certain information in SharpSpring to Trello. maybe not all lead information, but remember, we can choose to have it be a new opportunity. So maybe you have a sales Trello that kind of specs out all the details internally, and you want to be able to have a card for when a new opportunity is created. All you have to do is go through this very simple if this then that statement where we're saying if there's a new opportunity, then go ahead and create a card in Trello or whatever you guys would like, right? Only limitation here being is if the app is available on Zapier. Okay, now when you set this all up and you're good to go, remember to turn the Zap on, right? You'll notice that sometimes this stuff isn't firing off and you're not seeing any data. That may be because your Zap is not turned on. It's a common support issue that we get here in-house. So do remember to turn that on and monitor that behavior. The Zaps run every 15 minutes, so if you don't see something come in right away, it'll be every 15 minutes, unless you have one of those plans that offers every 5 minutes. So obviously, depending on what model you're in with Zapier. Aside from that, that really is all we're doing here with the Zapier SpringBoard Live. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to hit that question mark up on the top right corner of your screen. Click Get Support. From Get Support, go ahead and click this I Need Help With drop-down menu and click Request Training. When you do that, you'll actually be able to get in touch with myself, Jeff, or Joel, and we can schedule a private call, just me and you, to go over this stuff. And so if you have any specific use cases pertaining to your business or your marketing process, go ahead and feel free to leverage us. And don't forget, we also offer client sales presentations. If you have a prospect that's right there on the fence, or you're looking to sell SharpSpring to someone and don't maybe feel comfortable talking about all of the technical features in the app, feel free to then let us know. Say, hey, I want to go ahead and get you guys on a call with a potential client here and try to sell SharpSpring. So feel free to reach out to us as well. We're pretty flexible, and we'll be able to go from there. So with that said, next week's SpringBoard Live is on syncing Salesforce with SharpSpring. So if you or a client have Salesforce, you're interested in learning how to get all that set up, we're going to provide an overview of the integration. We're going to walk through steps needed to implement the integration, right? All the necessary steps and action items that we need to do to get it set up. And then we're going to discuss what data can be synced with Salesforce and SharpSpring.